The new year shines a new light on one of the biggest stories in Texas politics, the race for U.S. Senate.
It's a privilege to serve in this position, and I'll do it as long as the voters will have me.
We're getting a closer look at the top candidates in their own words.
If you want to make a difference in this world, and you want to make a true difference, you are going to face adversity.
From Republicans in the race,
what we need are young freedom fighters, America First fighters, moving forward, not just for now, but for the future of this country.
To Democrats aiming to turn the seat blue.
I'm trying to make my neighbor's life a little easier, but to sustain that difficult work, it has to be rooted in a love of God.
In a race that has national consequences.
I think that people are tired of politics as usual, and they want to experience someone that they feel like is authentic.
5 candidates, 1 seat that could help decide control of the U.S. Senate. Our special coverage starts now. Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Dylan McKim.
And I'm Adam Schwager. As we start the new year, we are just weeks away from one of the biggest stories in Texas politics, the March primary.
Early voting starts in February, and the campaign getting the most attention from both Democrats and Republicans is the race for U.S. Senate. It's a crucial race, not only here in Texas, but nationwide, as both parties battle to decide who controls the Senate. And the Texas primary is a key part of that battle.
On the Republican side, incumbent John Cornyn faces the toughest primary challenge of his career. I caught up with the senator to learn more about his message to voters as he campaigns to serve Texas for 6 more years.
I'm healthy, I enjoy my job, and frankly, I think I've become better at it over time.
Incumbent U.S. Senator John Cornyn first ran for statewide office in 1990 when he won a seat on the Texas State Supreme Court. 8 years later, he became the state's Attorney General. Then, in 2002, a U.S. Senator for Texas, a role he's held for almost 24 years. Across his decades in public service, Cornyn has seen a shift in politics.
Democrats have become now the party of Bernie Sanders and AOC and Mondani. And the Republican Party is President Trump's party.
So far, Cornyn's campaign challengers have tried to attack him as a Republican in name only, or rhino, and a relic of a pre-Trump party. Cornyn believes the characterization couldn't be further from the truth.
I voted for his policies 99.3% of the time. I think there's a lot of misimpression that people have, because I have been in the Senate a while, that somehow I'm not supporting President Trump, but the truth is, I have and I continue to support the president and his policies.
His opponents also criticizing his backing of the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, a major piece of gun control legislation passed in the wake of the Uvalde shooting. Cornyn doesn't regret that decision.
No parent should ever have to send their child to school worried whether they're going to be safe, and no child should have to go to school wondering whether they could be safe. And what we tried to respond to was exactly that, without encroaching on the rights of law-abiding gun owners, of which I am one.
At the age of 73, Cornyn will be turning 80 when his next term is up in 2033. He says his desire to keep running is because his experience helps Texans, highlighting his efforts to get the state reimbursed for money spent on border security during the Biden administration.
The One Big Beautiful Bill got $13.5 billion for reimbursement for border security measures. And the way we wrote it means Texas will be the principal beneficiary of that. You don't learn how to do that. You don't develop those relationships overnight or as a new member of the Senate.
If Cornyn wins and serves a full 5th term, he'd be the longest serving senator in Texas history.
I think the experience that I've had there and the relationships that I built and have worked well for the state of Texas that I love and continue doing a job which I enjoy. So I think it's a privilege to serve in this position, and I'll do it as long as the voters will have me.
So far, only a few polls about the U.S. Senate race have been released publicly.
The numbers suggest the Republican primary will be a tight race, and it might not be settled on March 3rd. In October, the University of Houston and Texas Southern University released a poll of 576 likely Republican primary voters. It showed Cornyn in a virtual tie with Attorney General Ken Paxton and Congressman Wesley Hunt trailing, but no candidate polled close to the threshold needed to avoid a runoff.
Paxton was the first to challenge Cornyn. The March primary will also be the first time the three-term Attorney General has run for any public office since his 2023 impeachment and acquittal. Cornyn has made the impeachment an issue in his campaign, but Paxton is also talking about his impeachment as he tries to win votes.
Thank you for your courage.
Warren Kenneth Paxton Jr., who just goes by Ken, first ran for office in 2002, winning a seat to the Texas House. A decade later, he was elected to the Texas Senate, serving 2 years there before becoming the 51st Attorney General of Texas.
I've had the opportunity to sue the President of the United States, Barack Obama, 27 times in 2 years.
Throughout his tenure, Paxton has spoken through legal filings, suing some of the largest entities in the country.
Google, Facebook, Twitter before Elon Musk, General Motors for defrauding us.
His AG tenure also mired with controversy and accusations of corruption.
I went through 15 different legal things while I was in office. Before I went into office, I'd never had a speeding ticket. I'd never been in trouble in my life.
Shortly after starting his third term in early 2023, Paxton became the center of the Texas political landscape. The Republican-led Texas House General Investigating Committee launched an investigation into Paxton and his dealings in the Attorney General's office. After the investigation, they unanimously recommended Paxton should be impeached and filed 20 articles of impeachment.
And I'll never forget sitting in trial for an impeachment that was an alignment of forces from the Biden administration, some very moderate Republicans, including Karl Rove and the Bush team, and realizing that I'm sitting on the sidelines with no money.
The House voted 121 to 23 in favor of impeaching Paxton, with 60 impeachment votes coming from Republicans. The vote made Paxton the first statewide official to get impeached in over 100 years, setting up a trial in the Texas Senate. 2 years later, Paxton uses this experience as an example of his perseverance.
I sat down and I said, look, I don't know how we're going to get through this, but I want you to know one thing. I'm not quitting. The people of Texas elected me 4 months ago. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to make these senators vote.
Texas senators voted to acquit him on all charges. Now, a cornerstone of his campaign has been talking to Turning Point USA students across the state after the assassination of their founder, Charlie Kirk.
Let's not let down the memory of Charlie Kirk. Let's not be fearful of the fight. Let's take on the evil, and let's save America. God bless.
Despite repeated requests to Paxton's team for an interview starting in September, Paxton did not talk to Nexstar directly for this story.
You've heard from the two Republicans leading the polls, but another candidate is shaking up the race.
And yes, I am going up against the swamp. And yes, I am fighting the establishment.
Wesley Hunt shares his strategy and message that could send the Republican race to a runoff. And later, two Democrats, two different campaigns. We speak one-on-one with both Jasmine Crockett and James Talarico to learn what each believes sets them apart in the race for U.S. Senate.
For the first time in more than a decade, there's a tight race for the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate. Four-term incumbent John Cornyn faces a major challenge from Attorney General Ken Paxton and Houston area Congressman Wesley Hunt. I spoke one-on-one with Representative Hunt just before a rally in the Woodlands. I asked about his decision to get in the race and his message to voters.
Wesley Hunt is a man who loves his country.
Houston area Congressman Wesley Hunt says he's not your typical politician. Former Apache helicopter pilot carries himself with the bravado of a West Point graduate.
You can attack me all you want. At the end of the day, I'm not getting shot at by a Russian-made Dishka fully automatic 50 caliber machine gun.
While also having the charisma to charm a room.
Like, I went from Trump Force One, like Trump's amazing palatial plane, eating McDonald's and Cane's chicken fingers, to Soul Plane, to Spirit Airlines.
While Hunt officially entered the race in early October, advertisements supporting the congressman started playing outside his home district this spring.
I said, oh, honey, that's just John Cornyn talking trash about me.
Hunt says his main drive for running is preventing a fifth term for 73-year-old incumbent John Cornyn.
If I've said this once, I've said this 1,000 times. The United States Senate is not a retirement community.
Hunt said the final factor to enter the race was concerns over the electability of the other major Republican challenger, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton.
We all know that the Attorney General has done a very good job here as the Attorney General here in Texas. He's a fighter. Look, I am somebody that's proven that I can win the primary, and also I am already outperforming both of these gentlemen in the general election, and everybody knows it.
Well, he could absolutely have been here.
Throughout Hunt's campaign, Cornyn's team has attacked him on a variety of issues, chief among them his attendance record in Congress. According to the National Review, Hunt missed 18.7% of his votes from the time he took office in 2023 through this September, while the median member of Congress misses 2%. Hunt says those votes were missed for good reasons.
My child was in the NICU for a while when he was first born, when I first got elected to Congress. Also, I served as President Trump as one of his top surrogates while he was campaigning for this last election. And so when the president calls you and says, I need you to fly with me, the answer is, of course, Mr. President, I'll see you there.
Cornyn's team has also started calling the congressman woke Wesley Hunt. They cite a Daily Caller article criticizing him for serving on the board of his alma mater, St. John's School in Houston, at the same time the school implemented diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. However, if you ask Hunt if being the first black senator from Texas would mean anything to him...
Well, there's actually also never been an Apache pilot to serve in these roles. There's also never been a West Point grad. There's also never been somebody that has the lineage of my family of 60 years worth of military service. And look, I am a black man that's currently elected in a white majority district that President Trump would have won by 20 points. The color of my skin is completely irrelevant.
We asked Hunt about his time on the St. John's board. He sent us a statement saying, in part, in the wake of George Floyd's death, the then president of the board advanced a series of policies that I believed were fundamentally misguided. I spoke up unapologetically and unequivocally, and because I refused to compromise my values or stay silent, my time on the board was cut short. We asked St. John's about Hunt's time on the board, but we have not received a response.
We have a rich legacy of doing right in this country. And right now, it is not the time to be afraid.
Two Democrats working to create historic change in the race for Senate.
There's a spiritual crisis in this country. The ties that bind us together are starting to unravel, and that's going to require a spiritual solution.
We'll meet the candidates and why each believes their campaign can end a decades-long losing streak for Democrats here in Texas. Nearly 2 decades ago, Jasmine Crockett lost an election to become the district attorney in Texarkana. But in the past 5 years, she's seen her political career rise. Crockett won the election to the State House, then to the U.S. House, and now is trying to become the state's first black U.S. senator. She's known for being outspoken. Comments she made against Republicans like Governor Greg Abbott and Marjorie Taylor Greene have brought her praise and criticism. But she feels staying true to her authentic self will lead her to victory in the Democratic primary and in the general election. I caught up with Crockett on the campaign trail in Fort Worth. The congregation at Pilgrim Valley Missionary Baptist Church has grown throughout the years since its establishment in 1908. But on this Sunday, the pews were even more crowded because of a special guest. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, just 3 weeks into her campaign, is taking the time to meet with voters in Fort Worth at churches and at local restaurants like Nana's Kitchen, a gathering place for the community.
Come on, Mama. When I touch grass and when I see people, I feel it, and it comports with what we were seeing and kind of our way of trying to test to see if my candidacy would get some of those people that normally don't participate to get involved.
Crockett sat down with us to talk about her road to this campaign, a journey that began in East Texas when she was a public defender for Bowie County, defending a 17-year-old client. He was charged with a felony for stealing candy from his high school cafeteria. She says her client was eventually put in prison for 2 years after he missed a meeting with his probation officer. Crockett later defended the same client in a meth case.
I was like, where did you get this from? And he learned how to cook meth in prison. That is where he learned. And so I was just like, how did this help our community?
Inspired to create change in the criminal justice system, Crockett campaigned to be district attorney in Texarkana and lost. But she says the loss laid the groundwork for where she is now. Crockett waited until the last day of the filing deadline to announce her campaign for U.S. Senate. She said she ultimately made up her mind after the U.S. Supreme Court upheld Texas's new congressional map for the 2026 election.
There's only one body that actually has oversight over the Supreme Court or the judiciary at all, the federal judiciary, and that is the Senate.
Crockett is throwing away what would likely be an easy re-election in her current U.S. House seat. But she feels she can enact the most change if she can win a Senate seat. She wants to rein in tariffs, fortify the Voting Rights Act, increase health care access, and raise the minimum wage.
The things that can potentially save their lives. We can't get it done without changing the map in the Senate.
To win this seat as a Democrat, she will need to expand the electorate. Early polling shows she has an 8-point lead in the Democratic primary, performing extremely well among black voters, but not so well with Latino and white men.
James Talarico.
Her opponent, James Talarico, recently received an endorsement from popular Tejano musician Bobby Pulido, who is also running for Congress in South Texas. But an even bigger obstacle for her may be the criticism she faces for moments that made her go viral, like the comments she made about Marjorie Taylor Greene during a House Oversight Committee after Greene first mocked her appearance.
Somebody's bleach blonde, bad-built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Crockett said she will continue to be her authentic self throughout the campaign, something she sees as a political superpower, and possibly the answer to win an election in Texas, coming off not as a polished politician, but a real person.
I don't feel like I need to pretend to be perfect. I don't feel like I need to pretend to be anybody else.
But she does admit those moments overshadow her policy work, something she's trying to change in her campaign in the lead up to March.
What we are definitely going to try to do is we are going to try to introduce people to the substance. We're going to try to get to that so that people know that yes, I'm spicy, but at the end of the day, this is about getting the work done, and I can do that.
For Crockett's opponent, politics is a matter of faith.
We follow the 2 commandments that Jesus gave us, to love God and to love neighbor.
We speak with James Talarico on how his beliefs inform his vision for leadership in the race for Senate. State Representative James Talarico earned some name recognition over the summer after he and his Texas Democratic colleagues broke quorum during the redistricting fight, and an appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast in which Rogan told Talarico he should run for president. Now, the former middle school teacher has his eyes set on the U.S. Senate. I spoke with him after a campaign event in San Antonio. Who is James Talarico?
Well, I'm an 8th-generation Texan.
A lifelong Texan, former school teacher, and an aspiring ordained minister in the Presbyterian Church. James Talarico is not an average politician. He held a rally at this party hall in San Antonio, a full-circle moment for the Democratic hopeful. He said conditions in his San Antonio classroom first motivated him to run for the State House at just 28 years old.
In one class, I had 45 kids in one classroom, and there weren't enough desks for all those kids, so I had students sitting on the air conditioning unit.
He served 4 terms in the Texas Legislature, where he passed policies on health care and education. All of his work grounded in a lesson he learned from his grandfather, a South Texas Baptist preacher.
He told me that we follow the 2 commandments that Jesus gave us, to love God and to love neighbor.
That lesson is baked into his campaign, loving thy neighbor. His message is one of unity, because he believes the country is facing a spiritual crisis.
That means rediscovering our connections with one another and learning how to love each other despite our differences and despite our disagreements. That's the only way a democracy can survive.
The 36-year-old is even studying at a seminary to take his faith to the next level. How do you connect with somebody who maybe isn't spiritual?
Most people have a spiritual dimension to their lives, even if they're not religious or they don't belong to any organized religion. They still have some kind of practice to help ground them, to keep them centered, and keep them connected with other people. And that's universal.
Talarico understands he's an underdog in this race. A Texas Politics Project poll from October showed 65% of Democrats polled did not know if they liked him or disliked him. He's taking his message of unity to every corner of the state to get his name and brand out there. From joining a picket line in Houston to judging a cookie bake-off at a rural East Texas high school.
I ate 12 cookies in a row.
and I have no regrets.
As far as policy, Talarico said he would hit the ground running in D.C. by trying to ban gerrymandering, ending super PACs, and banning senators from trading stocks.
We've got to tackle that corruption head on.
He also has a vision for the southern border. He likens it to a front porch with a big welcome mat and a lock on the front door.
We should be cracking down on the cartels, not our communities. We should be deporting gang members, not moms and babies. I think that is what most Texans and most Americans want to see. They want to see a policy that's pro-immigrant and pro-security. God bless you. Let's go win this thing.
Talarico has just 3 more months to convince Democratic voters he has what it takes to win a general election. For the self-proclaimed underdog, the answer is easy.
My students just like them, working people all over the state need a champion in the U.S. Senate, and I want to be that champion.
There is much more to our interviews with the Senate candidates, and you can see them online now.
We posted our complete interviews with James Talarico, Jasmine Crockett, Wesley Hunt, and John Cornyn on our website. We also posted that full speech that Ken Paxton gave to Turning Point students. You can see all of that now on our website. Just look for the links in this week's State of Texas story. Thank you again for joining us for this special edition of State of Texas.
We'll be back here next week to bring you an in-depth look at Texas politics.